Speaking of weird stuff, have you guys heard what Pep Guardiola has said?
I see the clip. I did see it.
The clips come out. This is what Pep Guardiola has said yesterday to a journalist when the journalist said to him, "What's wrong with being a journalist? What's wrong with being a journalist?"
What's wrong with being a journalist?
For me?
Yeah, what's wrong with being a journalist?
Oh, I'm a manager. My life is better than yours, so.
He kind of questioned journalists because he said that people were writing off Haaland and everything else. And a journalist asked a question around what's wrong with being a journalist, and he said, "Well, my life's better than yours." A lot of people are angry about this. What do you two make of Pep Guardiola's comment there, talking to a journalist in that way?
I'm gonna let Lawless go first because if I speak, I'm in trouble.
Do you know what? It's Pep being Pep. I see a lot of comments going, "Oh, if this was Arteta, and everyone would be losing their minds and everything." And there's a degree of truth to that because I don't know, Pep's got that swag about him. But yeah, I can understand. There's an animosity.
The guy speaks out of his ass, Lawless.
What? Who? Pep?
Swagger. Pep has swagger.
Yeah, he's got that. He's got that about him. That like Jose. Do you know what I mean? Like, say, I think. To me, he's got it about him where he can sort of get away with that. And journalists as well, I don't mind him, dissing the journalists because nowadays journalism isn't what it was back in the day. It's all about twisting and forming your own narratives. It's not about the truth. That's what journalism was always about. It was about the truth. Now it's about making headlines, you know what I mean, rather than reporting on them. So, yeah, I think it was just a little bit of banter, a bit of tongue in cheek. I don't think he was... And the guy said, "What's wrong with being a journalist?" He's like, "Oh, for me, like, no, well, I'm a manager. I'm happy being a manager. Why would I want to be a journalist?" I don't know. I think it's being blown out of proportion. It's that bit of banter in the press conference. You know what I mean? So,
no, I don't see it this way. I don't see it this way. Why he's making fun? Okay, hear me out. Pep Guardiola is funny and nice when he's winning and no pressure. He feels the pressure. That's why he comes out with these stuff. He always comes out with this stuff. Always, he mocks people, talks down to people when he's losing. Yes, he won the game, but he knew yesterday a slip, 1-0. Everybody expected you to win 2-3-0. He's feeling the pressure and he's taking it out on the journalists. Yes, it's blown out of proportion, but it's not his first time. And I'm gonna tell you, if Arteta does this, he gets mocked. If Ten Hag says something like this, people will turn on him. But people don't want to say that. Why? Because it's Pep Guardiola and he's the winner. When Jurgen Klopp says something like this, people wipe the floor with him in the media.
But look how Klopp says it to Pep says it. Pep looks
it's about the way he says it now. It's not about.
Yeah, it is.
It's about the way he says it now.
Because Klopp is aggressive. Klopp is like direct. Klopp will attack the journalist already. Like Pep, the way he's saying it, it's casual. It's off the cuff. It's cool. You know,
I don't think people in the chat can let us know if they think talking down to a journalist that makes a fraction of what you make. They're trying to do their job, create headlines, working left and right, try to catch you in press conferences, and you're talking down to them because you're rattled. I don't like it. I don't think it's something that should. Yes, it's a joke and everything, and there shouldn't be questioning. But I think this is a sign of someone who is rattled, who's feeling the pressure, who's feeling the stress. But people don't want to talk about it because it's Pep. And I guarantee you, listen, I don't like Arteta on the touchline, but I think Arteta defending his players and the way he talks to the people is a very nice way in the press conference, right? I don't like the jumping and all the stuff, right? But he speaks with respect and everything. Pep doesn't. When he's rattled, he doesn't. People press Arteta and pressure Arteta, Terry. People tell him, why did he do this? No, I'm going to stand behind my players. No, I'm going to do this. But Pep, he took it out on the journalists. I didn't like it.
I get both your point of views. The part of me looks in and goes, it was just a bit of a joke. The journalists probably didn't like it. So obviously, there are other journalists in the room that laughed as well. I assume that was journalists laughing, so they didn't all take it in that way. I also see it from the other end of the spectrum and think if certain other managers did that, there'd be outrage. If David Moyes said that, there'd be outrage. If a lot of players said it, they'd be outraged. I also think about it from the fact that we as fans get told, ironically by journalists, that we're not really qualified to speak about football like they are. You then move into the realm of, well, look what I do. My life's better than yours, or I know more than you. This kind of hierarchical take on things. I just don't. There's something about it that makes me uncomfortable. And more so, I move it away from Pep. I think we live in a world right now where it's really, I worry about the next generation and their ability to do normal jobs. Because everybody views the world as if I'm not doing something that's seen as very high in social status, footballer, top level influencer, movie star, singer, then my life's crap, my life's boring. Look at their Instagrams, look at his Instagram. I want to be like that. And I know Pep hasn't said it in this way, and I'm not even taking it out of context. That's where it doesn't sit right with me, because I think we already struggle enough with people doing normal jobs being looked at like they're bums. There are people I know that have good jobs who, when they speak to young people, like, so I had a friend of mine who's got a good job in a bank, was speaking in a school like the banks have done for the last 20 years. And all the kids are like, ugh, wouldn't want to do that job. Like it's a dead job. It's a bum job. Like I want to have something that's proper good. And they say things like, I want to be a gamer. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a gamer. What they actually mean is I want to be a famous gamer that everybody watches. And I think to myself, that's why the comment irks me. Not because Pep said it personally, not because it was meant in that way. I think we already struggle in society with people accepting that having a good, normal 9-to-5 job doesn't make you worth anything less than someone who is a footballer, who is an actor, who is an influencer. And I believe we're kind of in this realm of the world now where, look, we work in social media, right? We do. But anyone who's met me in person, anyone who's been around me knows, I don't think I'm anything special. I don't think my opinion is worth more than anybody else's. And I don't treat anybody any differently. There are people that honestly think, well, because I've got lots of followers on Twitter, I'm a better person than you. And Pep's kind of fed into that modern day mindset of, yeah, if you earn more money or your name's more well known, you've got a better life by default. And that isn't necessarily true. There are lots of people that have the most amazing lives who you've never heard of, rich or not. And that's the element of it that irks on me. And I know that, and I'm not trying to actually have a go at Pep personally. I'm not trying to make it just about him, but I just feel like there's a level of, in society now, there's like a level of decorum and behaviors and acceptable standards that are just not adhered to anymore. And this just kind of threw a bit of fuel on that fire, really. So I don't look at Pep and think, you scumbag, you should be banned or anything like that. That's too far. But I just look at it and it's like, oh, I don't know. Modern day society is weird enough as it is without those kind of comments for me.
I want to say something to the City fans that are rattled in the chat. You guys are always like, when we speak anything about your club, imagine me sitting here on the football terrace and I tell you, listen, I'm in this side of the camera. I'm better than you. My life is better. I get to talk about football in front of you and you get to send chats. How would you feel? If I don't respect you as a viewer, how would you feel? If I'm telling you, I'm right here in front of you, you can only chat to me through the chat, but I'm talking, how would you feel? This is, the journalist might have felt this way. My life is better than yours.
But at the same time, the journalists respect managers when they're constantly speculating on their jobs and,
but that's their job,
about, oh,
that's
this one gets sacked. You know what I mean? I know, but you got to look at it from both ways. I see why football managers aren't completely endeared to journalists. You know what I mean? They're not exactly the biggest fan of journalists, because journalists spend all this time talking about the job they do and speculating on if they're going to get sacked or not. And in any other walk of life, if like Terry, when you was working at your bank and I'm like, oh, Terry, you're getting sacked today, mate. Today every day you're going to get sacked, so you're going to get annoyed by that. So I think I can both hear what both of you saying.
I totally get you. And I think it's some, do you know what I think it is? It's just, I would never speak to someone like that, even if I was annoyed with them. Like, I've had a lot of rows with people on here, as we've all seen before, but I'd never turn around and be like, well, I earn more money than you. My life's better than you. What do you know? I just, saying that would
leaves
make
a bit of a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, like saying that would make me feel really bad about myself. I would, honestly, my God, if I said something like that, I think my grandparents would come back alive and beat the shit out of me. My dad, even I'm 38, would put me over his knee and spank my ass. It would actually embarrass my family if I spoke down to anybody. But the other day, I took my little boy football, and I've got a nice Beamer. I've worked really hard for it. I got it. And there's this young lad who coaches there, and he's got a nice little Beamer himself. But he was like, "Oh, I really want that. I just can't afford it right now, like the car I've got." And I just said, "Mate, how old are you?" He said, "Like 20." I said, "Don't beat yourself up." I said, "When I was 20, I was driving some clapped out 15-year-old Ford Fiesta that barely worked." I said, "You'll get there. Just keep working hard and doing your thing." I've had it around where I live because there's a lot of wealthy people around here. When I pulled up at my daughter's school, say, "Oh," because of how I dress and talk, they go, "How do you afford a car like that. I suppose that's why maybe it irks at me. I will never talk down to someone that doesn't have what I have. Equally, I won't ever be spoken down to by anybody that thinks I have more than I have either. And I just, maybe it's the working class man in me that doesn't look at that stuff as being right. But I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Not a good look, Pep. Not a good look, but I don't know. This is just, to be fair, Terry, you do say you'll pay someone's rent for a year if they can prove you wrong. That's a good point, but that's more to do with the fact. I don't. That's a good challenge, to be fair. And maybe I've actually been called out for doing that. But my view is people call me a liar and say I'm making things up. And it's like, well, come on camera and I'll do this for you if you can prove me wrong. It's calling out people that are trolling me and lying about me. But I do hear you, my friend. That's a pretty good challenge, to be fair. But, and I agree with that. You haven't known me do it in a long time, because I had a few people that I respect that said, I don't think you should do that. It doesn't look particularly good. So I was like, yeah. And yes, I do have a swimming pool, but what's that got to do with anything? I worked for it. I paid for it. What's that got to do with anything? But I don't think I'm better than Dan or Mo because they may or may not have swimming pools. That's the point. Having something doesn't make you think you're better. Saying I've got it, you haven't, does. And that's the point that we're making here, I think. So, it's Pep's doing his job. Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. I just don't think he should say things like that. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, City, they didn't look great again last night, did they, Lawless? Back onto the football.
Yeah, it's it is a bit concerning, I think, for City fans looking at their sort of struggle to score goals and break teams down when you've got some of the best attacking talent that they have. Obviously, they've had a few injuries, but everyone's had them. So yeah, they're looking a little bit stagnant, but I'm waiting to see when that Man City kick into that next gear, which they always do coming up around this time of year. When it gets to March, February, they're going to have to find that gear. And I think we write them off too easily. But yeah, I think there's definitely cause for concern when it comes to, especially like at home. Do you know what I mean? Brentford are a tricky team, but I feel like it seemed like Man City, they need to start putting in performances where they're blowing like these types of teams away and really flexing their muscles. So yeah, I think it is a slight worry, but we'll see. I'll never write them off and think they're not favourites for the league. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that completely. They're definitely still the favourites for me. But the City fans, I didn't like the criticism last night. Did they, Mo, on the match reaction show?
I don't think they're favorites anymore.
Really? Who's favorites?
Kevin De Bruyne is injured. News came this morning. I don't know if did you read that? You guys didn't read that.
Is he injured again?
Yeah, he's injured again. They have concerns over his hamstring. It's everywhere. 10 hours, 5 hours ago. I think it's everywhere. Pep already. I don't think they are favorites. They have equal. They are not favorites by mile. Like, I think they have equal chances as Liverpool, depending on how Liverpool injuries come back.
Yeah, I mean,
this is what they said. Like, in my opinion, I'm gonna be realistic and oh my god, you guys sensitive. You guys are always sensitive. Okay, here it is. Liverpool have 1 point advantage over you. You go to play them in their ground, right? So you aren't favorites to win that game. So Liverpool can be 4 points ahead of you. Logically, you still have to play Spurs away. You have to play Arsenal, right? And you don't win in the Spurs ground. So I'm just gonna say, yes, you are favorites because you have the best team. Not anymore. Your coach yesterday struggled again to find the right combination. Oscar Bob, fantastic player, right? Young. He is different than Gundogan, different than Riyad Mahrez off the bench. Doku is somehow struggling to find the same form. I wouldn't scapegoat him, right? Matthias Nunes and Kovacic, your coach is refusing to rely on them. Your defense is getting turned by Vesa, Ivan Toney, by Nicholas Jackson, by Cole Palmer. Your defense conceding goals left and right. You aren't the same City as last year. You won some games. You won a lot of games, right? But you struggled against Chelsea. You struggled at home against Brentford. Liverpool aren't struggling at the moment. They have injuries. I don't know when the injuries are going to be back. But if they are back, the injuries, I actually think they are favorites. And also, Arsenal Football Club, they have a lot of tough games. You want to sit here and tell me that the Arsenal we saw last 5 games and the City that played against Brentford, against Chelsea at home, Arsenal cannot go and get a result? I'm not saying they will get a result. I'm just saying logically, looking at the two teams and how they're performing at the moment, Arsenal can go to the Etihad and get a result. How did I change my mind? Looking at how you play, Man City. Looking at you conceding goals. Why is it so hard to understand, bro? I don't get it.
Thing is, Mo, I said this on Dan Potts' channel the other day, right? Is we seem to do this every season where Man City, they go through these shaky periods in the season. We always say they're not the same. They're not the same. This is the year, you know, they're not going to win the league. And then when they do it, everyone looks at, oh my God, it's the Bundesliga. Oh, they're cheating. You know, it's one season, one league, what do you call it? One team league, all of this stuff. So everyone complains, but then it's like, well, you was just sitting there, you know, a few months ago saying, they're not the same. They're not that good. And then you're complaining and crying foul like, oh, it's, you know, not a competitive league when they win it. We see this story time and time again. So in my mind, even though you're right, everything that you said is right. Yeah, okay. That Liverpool have the advantage on points. Anfield, all of that is true. However, Man City are the one team that you can put your money on to go on a crazy run. They could potentially lose against Liverpool and Arsenal, still go on a crazy run and finish above those teams because we've seen it time and time and time again. So
if they lose both game rollers, they won't win the league.
If they what's that?
If they lose both games, as you said, they won't win the league.
I mean, it's on the other teams to have that mentality. Arsenal showed they had a big lead last season, and they didn't have the mentality to get over the line. Man City come back, and everyone thought Arsenal was going to win it. Same with Liverpool, a few years ago before they did win it.